lot of views is the best cornerback that probably ever played the game. Hey, if I could go learn from him how to do it like he did it, who wouldn't want to take that opportunity? Because I know raising my boys, one of the biggest things that separates a lot of kids from making it to the next level is the training, is the coaches. It's the coaching. It's not the individuals. We've always had great athletes, like I said, in the HBCUs. But then when we don't pay the coaches like they should be paid, or they're not supporting fully the whole program, then you don't have the coaching and the training and everything that goes along with that to get keep those players to the level that they're at. Walter Payton or somebody had to train those people. They had to be great coaches. And I'm sure Pastor Williams can tell you more about, he knows a lot more than a lot of us know over here tonight, because he's been there, So he knows some of those coaches that came through. Those coaches, sweat, blood, and tears training those guys and getting them to the stage and the place that they were in history. So that's what's going to take for our HBCUs. I think one of the main things is the finances, but the other thing is getting the coaches, and the finances is what's going to get the coaches. But there are so many other avenues right now than we had in the past to get that funding. We didn't have those avenues. Those doors wasn't open 50 years ago, 60 years ago. This NIL thing and that transfer portal, all of that is flipping the script, and it's pieces that are being put in place. If the players play it right, a lot of these guys are going to be millionaires before they get out of college. They were all so the carrot holding it up saying, well, we want you over at this school. Well, I'm already rich. I want to influence my culture. I want to influence my people. I want to change this school. You can, if you listen to what Hunter said and what he said sometimes the dream or the vision is bigger than the person. Basically, that's what he's saying. My calling is bigger than my own self desires and what I want. What I need to do right now is bigger than me. So with him doing that, though, and then other players, not saying it is going to happen overnight, but it's a good step in the right direction for a lot of our players. Go somewhere where people really love you, and go somewhere where they really care about you and they want to see you make it, not just make money off of you. And, when you get hurt or whatever, they throw you to the side. Go to a place where they really have your back. And that's with any kid. Like I said, I'm raising 3 boys right now, and we're going through all this recruiting process, and this thing is a storm right now. It's so much that's happening. And I'll talk about more about when we get further into the show tonight. But, like I said, the HBCU, the history is just so thick. I mean, we really could even go through all of it tonight, but it's just so many players that came through. And I love watching Walter Payton and Hayes and all these different individuals that have been mentioned, and they learned what they learned at those schools. My father, Fort Valley, that's where he went to school at, Fort Valley. He was down there at HBCU. My grandmother wouldn't let him go anywhere else but somewhere she could get to. He had scholarships all over the basically United States and offers coming from everywhere. But my grandmother said, no, you're not going to any of these schools. I got to be able to get there when I need to get there. Or so you're going to this school over here. So you're going to Fort Valley. So, and that's where, that's where he went to college at. And when he got there, he was telling me about all the athletes that were there and the people that, when he came from, he was the superstar. But when he got there, I mean, you're talking about my dad standing 6'4", 220-some, 30 pounds coming out of high school, running a 10 flat 100. He was out running backs, wide receivers, and everything else. But when he got to that school, it was some more athletes there. There were great athletes. I mean, and him being recruited is one of the best. But when he got there, there were other athletes that were just as good or better. So that lets you know, I knew then, I said, they had to have some really exceptional athletes in that day and time. We just lost it, though, throughout the years. But we can gain it back, though. I believe I want to talk about some more things in a few minutes about some of this portal and this NIL. That's what I want to talk about. And such. This is why people are upset and they about to flip out and lose their mind. But that's my take for right now.
All right. Cool. Anyone else? Bishop Rob Williams, did you want to say anything, Apostle? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think we need to look at the landscape as James was saying. And by the way, y'all, James played ball for me up at Columbia High, so he knows what he's talking about too. He's a real baller. But Yeah, the landscape with, like James was saying, with the portal, with all of this stuff, with all the things that athletes are being blessed. I'm gonna call it blessed with, because now they are getting more bang for their buck, so to speak. Because colleges and the sports arenas around the world are realizing these guys are the ones that are making the money, and they're not getting in it. They're not even getting a dime or a penny's worth for their labors and all the hard work that they put in. So finally, that is being recognized, and a lot of responsibility now is going to be on that student, going to be on that parent to now search out these schools, because what is happening is even guys like Chris Paul, guys like J.R. Smith, guys like that who did not go to an HBCU, now that they've gone to the predominantly white institution and have gotten into pro ball and have had the opportunity to go back just to visit the HBCU, go attend a football game or a basketball game, they look back and say, man, what did I miss? They realize that grass really wasn't all that green in the first place. And now, I think the spyglass, the microscope is on us as individuals and as athletes in the HBCUs to dominate like we used to. I think you'll see a reversal of things. I think you'll see that the programs that are the football programs and sports programs funded by these HBCUs are going to come back to the forefront like they were in days gone by. Because I got a list about 29, 30 names of people who not only made the Pro Bowl, but made the Hall of Fame. Did you not realize that majority of the guys in the Hall of Fame came from HBCUs? Majority of the black athletes that made the Hall of Fame, a good percentage of them came from HBCUs. They came from HBCUs. So we got a lot to be proud of. And they laid the foundation. They laid the foundation for what's going on right now. And I'm just proud to see this day. I'm proud to see this day.
All right, Burrell, what's your take on that, bro?
So I'm gonna play devil's advocate. I know it doesn't always sound good.
No, come on,
the best thing to do.
Bring it, brother, bring it.
But Apostle said this earlier, and I kind of agree. I think that sometimes we create situations that don't have anything to do with us. I keep hearing people say, "Oh, they mad." First of all, the comments that majority of coaches made had nothing to do with the young man being chosen by or choosing Jackson State. Had nothing to do with it. Not Dabo Swinney's comments, not Lane Kiffin. They didn't. It doesn't compute to them. And I think a lot of times, me being a graduate of HBCU, a lot of times we create enemies that we don't even have yet. So we create narratives. Now, what I'm not saying that they're not mad. Of course, they upset. They would rather them stay there. And it's big on the fans. One thing Apostle said earlier was this, and I'm a big proponent of this. We're saying that it's going to get there, but at the end of the day, we don't have the boosters nor the income and alumni structure that they have. So, like you said earlier, coaching and training is important. Let me be clear. The HBCU I went to, grounds is not even as nice as the white high school down the street at Valdosta, Georgia. They have an indoor facility for a high school team. So you're right. Deion Sanders can recruit because he's a legend. That works. But when you're looking at a Fort Valley State, when you're looking at Albany State, when you're looking at Alcorn, who had one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game in Steve McNair, then what are they able when you go to their facilities? But also, a lot of times, again, hear me out. Please don't get upset with me. We live in the past. Yes, you're absolutely right. Walter Payton, Jerry Rice, but name me one 18-year-old who remembers Walter Payton or half of the Doug Williams, all them players. We have relevant players now that are just as good. Rogers Cromartie, who came out of Tennessee State and was a top 10 draft pick. We have Hugh Douglas, who was in the first round, who's here on the radio here in Atlanta, and was one of the greatest terrorizers on the defensive end, one of the best beasts on that Philadelphia Eagles defense for almost a decade. We have a lot of legends that we don't even mention now because we only want to focus on what we used to be. So now the crest of what I believe is this. I think we have to put the cart. Sometimes we put the cart before the horse. That's great. Yeah, if we want to get to Alabama level, I'm for it. Let's shoot for the stars, but let's get competent with just Kennesaw State first. Can we do that? Can we just get competent with Kennesaw State, Georgia State? You see what I'm saying? Like we want to say these big great things, but at the end of the day, one is good. The JUCO kid that just went and confirmed at Grambling is good, but until you start seeing groves of them saying, "Hey, the facility," because Tennessee State just lost Master P's son because the facility and the medical wasn't even as good as the one he had in high school. So it's good to say it, but how do we keep them there if we don't? Like you said earlier, the training, the coaching, and the facilities. You got to get that on point. Or this is going to be a one and done type situation where, yeah, you might get one or two, but they're not worried about us because they know 30, 40, 50, 60 kids are not rushing to beat down the doors of the HBCU. Because, yeah, the party cool, but they'll be like my sister who went to Duke for college, but she pledged down there at the HBCU and party. And that's the fear that I have. I think if we don't curtail the infrastructure, the training, the coaching, and being able to maximize on that, then we'll waste our time.
So when you speak on the word of being competent, you mean you're speaking to raising the level of the infrastructure, the school, the facilities, amenities on that level.
Yeah,
which I agree, because I was listening to Roland Martin, and he made this statement that each school is averaging about 5% return of boosters or alumni supporting back to the school per year. That ain't good.
It's not.
And when you and if you look at most of and everything that everybody's saying is good. Let me explain why. And let me just say this so I can make sure the listeners even understand. All of our points won't line up, but they're valid. And it brings a perspective that everyone can look at and gain understanding of. So let me get back to what Roland Martin was speaking in reference to the boosters and alums donating money. When a school is winning, alums at PWI give out the wazoo. I'm talking they raising 90 to 150 million that school term, not in 2-3 years. No, that came in that school term. We have to get the HBCU alumni and those who support the school, because a lot of money also comes in for folks that never graduated from that school, but they feel like that's my school and I love that. Like me, I'm a big time University of Georgia fan. I want to get season tickets. Guess what I found out? You got to donate a certain amount of money to the school just to get in line to buy season tickets. So you got people that do that just to get in line to buy season tickets. So in essence, you're correct. We have to get competent to the level of the schools, some of the smaller schools that have great alumni. And Kennesaw State, that was a great school to mention, because Kennesaw State is booming.
Came out of nowhere.
It's booming. It came out of nowhere. The campus is gorgeous. It's growing. People are coming. Kids are registering. That's what we have to do. We have to really go back and solidify the infrastructure of our HBCUs and talk and be honest and talk about money. You all want this, you got to give. You all want this, you got to give. We're gonna go we got the coach. I'm gonna use Jackson State. We got the coach. They gave us 11-1 season, and Jackson State really overachieved because they were garbage. And excuse the expression, but they were not a good team last year.
They were literally 3-4 last year.
Right.
3-4.
Those are some of the things that we have to improve on, which is the infrastructure, as Burrell said, of our schools. Then we can go back. Now let me hit this point on what Apostle Robert Wilson saying, and he'll probably come back and say something again as well on this matter. That Back then, we couldn't go to PWI.
Yeah.
So HBCUs is all we had. That's why HBCUs were created. We couldn't get in. Not that we couldn't get in because of academics or athletics. We weren't allowed to get in. They didn't receive us. We could have been the smartest one in 3 states. You could not go to that institute because of the racism and the structures or the racism and the segregation that was in place then. So we created HBCUs, and that's why there was a flood. Now, this is what Apostle Robert Williams can talk about because he knows the knowledge of this. When USC came down there to Alabama, and I'm gonna bring you on up, Apostle, to face them Bam Cunningham. They put hands on them, and most of them other schools that went and played those PWIs or predominantly white institutes, they got beat up. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. And what happened, you know, you had winning coaches in Bear Bryant and I forgot the coach at Kentucky. It wasn't Adolph Rupp. It was the guy behind Adolph Rupp. But they were embarrassed. You got coaches who just accustomed to winning to such a degree that to lose in the way they lost, that transcended any kind of racial apprehensions they had about us as athletes. Because first and foremost, those kind of coaches like winning first and foremost. And to get the thing put on them like they did, that changed a lot of mindsets. The next thing you know, Bear Bryant is bringing him in some black ball players. The next thing you know, Kentucky is bringing in some black ball players, and the whole landscape changed. Because Western Kentucky took those a starting black 5,
That's
which
right.
wasn't seen. You didn't see that much at that level, and took it into the NCAA final championship game and blew Kentucky off the court.
Yep.
Same thing happened with USC and Alabama. So that started the floodgates. And that was around about my sophomore year, junior year in college. It was just that late, around 67, 68, where you may see 1, 2, or 3. And then by the time the 70s came around, that was no problem. They were getting us in droves at that point. And the thing was to go to these schools and get to fly on the airplane, get to stay in the hotel. Y'all know where we stayed when we played ball? The HBCUs. We stayed under the gym, and they had all these bunk beds out up under the gym, and that's where you stayed. That's where you stayed. And guys would tell jokes all night long about this and that stuff that I can't mention on in a media setting. And that was the environment. That was the environment. I never forget playing baseball at Morehouse and going down to FAMU. They had a grounds crew. We were like, wow. I mean, like, what in the world? My lights are going off in the house.
All right.
But can y'all still hear me? You can't see me.
Go ahead. You're good.
So, but anyway, that changed the landscape. I mean, that changed the landscape. Just a game here or a game there where we were put in the spotlight. These coaches saw, and not society, but coaches saw what we could do as a people, what we could bring to their program. And, next thing you know, laws were being changed. Schools were allowing the percentages to change so that we could go to school where we wanted to. We could play on teams that had not allowed us to play before. And so now we're seeing sort of a potential reversal, where as opposed to going to that school where we had been shut out, now, I'm staying at home because I want to stay at home. I'm going to an HBCU because I want to go to an HBCU. Whereas we were saying we're going because we had to. Mm-hmm. So I like it. I like what I'm seeing. I like the changes and they got to give Deion credit because he's in the spotlight. And I think the message that he sent all across the sports world, that we can make it work. We can make it work, and I think this is an attempt for us to try to make it work at the HBCU level again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
I think the Apostle may mention number two, a strong alumni program like South Carolina State, very strong. FAMU, they raise millions every year, right? Like it's ridiculous at how strong their alumni program is. And they all come back. They have like, you know, a strong, famous alumni program too at FAMU. Same thing with North Carolina A&T. You know, you're talking about these other schools that constantly give back. And I like what you said, Tommy, about we definitely have to have that same enthusiasm for our schools, making sure we give back. You may not attend the game, still give back, right? You still need to make sure you're doing it and putting your school in the position to win, to be able to pay for, like you said again, those coaches and staff that we need. Because Dion, he got NFL coaching staff. So, you know, you can do that when you him and you bring what you bring, right? People want to come and be a part. And so who else can pay for NFL coaching staff on a collegiate level? You know what I'm saying? So we have to continue, like you said, to continue to give back. And once we do that, we'll start seeing those, again, just give back. And we'll start seeing our athletes continue to stay and continue to produce greatly, like we say on the field and on the basketball court.
But will we ever be able to give back like billionaires? Like Michigan State coach got $95 million. The guy who was on the boosters that helped give him $90 million is the owner of the Cavaliers. So are we gonna, like, I think that's the part that I'm just saying, like,
I think it depends on the school, because Morehouse, they got billionaires on their from Morehouse, billionaires who give back. So it just depends on the school that you know, it determines what the clientele is. Like I said, you know, Will Packer, they got all these people at FAMU. Like it just depends on the clientele. Morehouse, yes, certainly got billionaires that can pay everybody debt in one swoop, right? No problem, give back billions. It doesn't matter to them. But then you have those smaller schools, like you said before, who don't have that clientele that can give back, alumni that can give back on that level because they're not notarized, right? So it just depends again on the school. If you got a bigger school and it has the infrastructure, Spelman the same way, they got billionaires. So it just depends on, you know, you talking about Denzel Washington, Morehouse. You talking about Spike Lee. It's strong. They have the people to do that.
And they're not even using their stadium. Like they're literally having to use the Clark Stadium. See what I'm saying? So I'd be like, we can have these conversations because they're not even using their stadium right now because they don't have the funds to be able to even compete with a Jackson State.
But again, it's about what they value, right? You're talking about Morehouse. We're talking about a school of medicine. You're talking about, right? So it just depends on, again, for that particular school, it's sports, you know what I'm saying, big for them. Whereas you're talking about a FAMU, they building auditoriums and they building all kind of stuff. Why? Because that's what they value, right? You see how they travel, FAMU? They take flights and all kind of stuff because, again, they value their sports program. Whereas in Morehouse, values more academic, medicine, science, engineering. That's their goal in that particular institution. So it just depends on on the institution, what they value and what they're known for.
Yeah, because I would say, what we're doing is we're trying to say it for a general statement for all HBCUs. That's impossible. That's not going to happen over that wide of a span. But if you concentrate, like Pretty Lady is saying, if we concentrate on certain schools, and I've always said certain HBCUs, if that's what their thing that they're pushing, basically, if they're pushing sports, if they're pushing basketball, it'd be football, baseball, whatever it is. If they're pushing that and you get the right people pushing that behind them. Now, let's just say if we had the top HBCU in basketball right now. I've always said this scenario right here because it's a whole lot easier to do it in basketball than it is to do it in football. Okay, if we were to go to the top HBCU in basketball, if LeBron James, billionaire, Wade, millionaire, multimillionaire, all right, his son, LeBron's son, they all play together. I've watched these kids come up with my kids. They are out at a school in California now, Scottie Pippen's son. All of these players, if they say they really want to change the game, you could change the game just like the Fabulous Five, or Fab Five did, just with 5 players.
I agree.
You could flip the script just that fast. Think about it. If Bronny comes and goes to the top HBCU in basketball, and he brings along 3 or 4 of his friends, they're not losing anything. They're not risking anything because he already know he going to the NBA.
Exactly.
Got the people that Wade's son, they going to the NBA. So we're not risking anything. They don't have to worry, even if they got hurt or whatever happened. Their fathers are millionaires and billionaires. So then money is not the issue. If you really want to change the whole perspective, we want to change this whole culture and drive it back to where it was at, do that in basketball. All I need is 5 players. All I need is 4 players.
You only need 5.
4 players and give me some role players around them. Yeah. You think that those announcers are not going to be there at those games? They're not going to broadcast those games? These are the best players in the nation. Oh, we're going to get the television broadcast money. You're going to get the money at the door. You're going to get all the memorabilia, all that stuff. Everything for that school is going to be selling like crazy.
Yeah, I think it would be.
That's a much easier concept than just trying to do. You got 50, 60, 70 players on a football team. That's a lot to deal with. But when you're talking about on a smaller frame at a specific school, once that school takes off, then we start expanding that. Have a plan to expand that to the smaller schools. Let's help those other schools out. Let's help them get some players and different things like that. Let's help them build their facilities up. You got a network. Everybody's got to work together. It cannot happen just, like I said, across the board like that. That is not going to happen. But Jackson State is a perfect place like that. If they're going to build football there, and he's got the coaches, and he's got with that NIL and all this other things that are happening right now with that transfer portal. I mean, I'm watching Dion every day on Twitter and everything. I mean, Twitter is just blowing up. Instagram is just going crazy. I mean, you got kids and Dion is said, look, the portal is open. It ain't hard to find me. If you want to come play ball, come on over here, and learn from the best. So he's putting it out there, and they're getting players. They're getting players here and there. He's getting 4 stars. He's getting 3 stars. He's getting 5-star players. He's getting them now. It can change, but like I said, it would be easier if it were, say, LeBron or someone like that. That's the type of money that I believe my friend that he's referring to. You got to have people like that that's got that type of money that can. I mean, we got billionaires and different other ones, but the way that LeBron is growing right now, eventually he will be an owner of a team. Eventually, just like Magic Johnson. If you get those type of people, Magic, he Michigan alumni, whatever stuff. But Magic, I need some money. We need that money to come back to our people here. Come on back with that. And I'm not saying he's probably given in the past as well as other athletes and entertainers and whoever it may be, movie makers, whatever entertainers, whatever it may be, our billionaires in science and medicine and everything else they've given. But we need more of that to be given and then concentrated. You cannot try to spread that across the board. You've got to make sure that, let's say we get 4 or 5 of these schools on the map and get them ranked. They're ranked nationally. They are in the AP poll. They're in those polls now. They have made it. Because see, that's what you see happening with, say, like he mentioned Kennesaw State. I went to Southern Tech Polytech. That was what Kennesaw State used to be. So they ain't just popped out of those. They've been there, but they've been growing. They were one of the, that was the second top engineering school basically in Georgia, behind Georgia Tech. But the thing is, actually, the math at Kennesaw State or at Southern Tech Polytech was harder than at Georgia Tech. Maybe people didn't know that. You had to go to school there to find that out. So when I got there,
Southern Polytech combined with a school. What was the other school they combined with?
Life.
Yeah.
Because I remember.
Okay. So that's how they came about, and it's big. I mean, I was a coach. What's his name? Bohannon. I think that's his name. That's the head football coach over there now. That's the one that was recruiting my second son there at quarterback, trying to come up to Kennesaw. But it's just, it's so much that can happen, and we're looking at the same thing. I mean, I'm saying I'm dealing with this right now in an end time situation. It's not that I'm just standing on the outside of it. I'm dealing with it. He just got offered by Savannah State, so it's different, that's happening. That's right there on the table. It's what you're going to do with that. And we have to make these decisions, and it is not easy. For the parents, for the players. But if the billionaires that are there can help in these programs, if the more people that they can recruit and bring into this, the more change we can see happen even faster. But it's going to have to take that, because I've been to some of those schools and I've seen their facilities, and then I've been to Georgia.
Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
It's a whole different world when you go from one to the other one. like you said, you go to one, it looks like a high school stadium. They don't even have the seating at the end in this end zone and all of that. It's just a regular high school stadium. But we've got to sell our kids more on than just what things look like. They've got to be sold on what things can be.
Yeah.
And let them know that it's more important than just having the fancy facilities and all these different things that go along with it. There are other ways to make that money that you're trying to make. When Shaquille O'Neal's son, who's not, I ain't throwing no shade. I seen him play. I was at the game. Sharif.
You're not that good. Tell the truth. Come on.
He ain't Shaq. He ain't nowhere near Shaq. Nowhere near that. Okay. But Sharif got 2.7 million followers on Instagram. Sharif is making $10,000 plus for every post that goes on his Instagram. We got to teach our kids this stuff. This is what they got to learn, because anything can happen on that field or whatever. But Sharif got 2 points and his brother has 900,000 whatever followers. So every time they post on their sites, his brother's making like $1,800 every time somebody posts. Sharif making $10,000. Man, it's a different field out there now. The recruiting is different. Everything is different, because it's the same thing. Even when my son was looking at going to Georgia Southern, I said, look, and all that just went hooray. It just went crazy. With the whole recruiting process just went crazy. Firing of coaches, new coaches coming in, all this stuff is happening. But I told him, I said, even at Georgia Southern, by being the face of the football team, you don't have to go to Georgia, because Georgia, you're not going to be the face of the football team. But if you go to Georgia Southern over there, you're the face of the football team. When those NIL deals come in, guess who's getting it first?
You getting it.
And especially if Kirby's still the coach, you might not even play, because how he be coaching nowadays, we don't even.
You tell it.
To be
now, see, I ain't gonna talk about you, because one of my boys might end up there. I don't know. I can't say it.
So, but to be devil's advocate, let's be for real. I mean, let's be like, come on, let's be serious.
Yeah.
And I hate that I'm sounding like Channing Crowder, because I don't want to sound like Channing Crowder. I think me being when I was in 8th grade, going to 9th grade, I went to Auburn University, UGA, Columbus State. I looked at Auburn University, Columbus State, Tuskegee, all of them. At 8th to 9th grade, when I'm looking at these campuses, it was a different time, right? So you're gonna love what you want. I didn't even entertain my dad's alma mater. He went to Talladega. I didn't even entertain it. Now, today, because of the new culture and everything, I probably would have looked at it, everything. But so you're absolutely right. It's a different time where you're right. If your son could go to UGA and just start 1 year, then he still could possibly go first round. He can start 3 years and dominate in Georgia Southern and still go first round. I think that's the thing that, like you're saying, we have to teach them. The only thing for me, the only thing I think that we have to get to the level of is like you talked about earlier, is the coaching and the training. I mean, because my homeboy was a skinny dude when we was in high school. The training that he got at Georgia State, and I'm just talking about Georgia State. I'm not even talking about UGA. He's now playing for the Green Bay Packers. And it just, the training. I mean, he talked about it because before he went to Georgia State, he went to Albany State, came back up. And the training was it's that training and and it's not a knock. And I agree with you. It definitely is easier in basketball, right? Like it just is. But even with football, and I've said this a long time, if you let FAMU, TSU, Grambling, Alabama State, Jackson State, and Howard do their thing, then, hey, everybody else, the schools that's known for, like you talked about, Pretty Lady, if you're known for business and medical, do your thing. We ain't worried about you. But if you can come in here and you can build your program on sports, and because my thing, I don't think we have to be University of Alabama from a collegiate perspective, sport-wise. But if you're Kennesaw State or Georgia State or even Liberty now, which I can't stand, how they just started in 1974 and all of a sudden they are just, that's a whole nother conversation. Why can't we be Liberty? Why can't we be Georgia State in this state? Why can't people be like, hey, look, if you don't go to UGA, you going to Morehouse or Clark, period. Like, why can't we be that without having to say, oh, they hating on us? No, let's figure out how to say, hey, some of y'all recruits ain't going to play again. Go ahead and just feed them down to us. Well, because you don't need five stars don't always pan out. But if you got about 40 or 50 2-star, 3-stars, I guarantee you'd be just as good.
Well, it's just like the NFL draft. If you really do your study of it, most of your teams that got their starters, if you look at their stars in high school, they're 3 stars. They're 3 stars. It's your lineman, and really what it is, it's a 3-star that's been coached up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, as James has said many times, there's really not a whole lot of validity when you look into the stars of a player.
Yep.
Because he could be a 5-star, but if he ain't got the mindset to handle the pressure of school, he might as well just be a walk-on. And then you got a 2-star that says, I ain't really get the recognition I need, but I'm here. I'm about to dog y'all. I'm about to dig into y'all. Now this joker here done became, and I'll give you another example. The boy down at Georgia, Davis, he was a 3-star that's been coached up.
Mm-hmm.
David Pollock, I give you another one, played defensive end. He was like a 3-star
legend
that went bananas when he got on campus. He single-handedly shut down and beat Clemson in
legend.
One play. Strip, fumble, sack, and a touchdown. All in the end zone in one play, and his Lord just took off. But because he was coached up, I give you another boy. They found, and you know, I know, man, I'm big time Georgia, so I know about everybody that come out of there. They found Greg Blue and T. Davis playing basketball, and they was yamming on folks, boom, alley-oops and everything. And the coach was like, "That's an athlete right there. I'll take him and make something out of him." And brought him in. Next day, you know, they became safety. And T. Davis, legend, just is what it is. Went to Carolina and became one of the best middle linebackers they've had on the field. So it's all about coaching, as you said, James, coaching, as you said, Burrell, that will change, that can change the school. And I like what you said about the basketball. You can flip a school faster with basketball because it's less players, and then you can drive the money. The other side of it is you got to get administration to understand, okay, we're this type of school. We don't have the real backing, the financial backing. Let's drive our efforts into sports, because if you really look at the landscape of most of your PWIs, the sports is the cash cow.
Exactly.
That's what drive the school. I give you, who was I talking to today about Calipari up at UConn? Was that
Calhoun.
Calhoun. And give that spiel, Burrell, on Calhoun at UConn.
I don't know. He was just saying one day to some reporters, they were like, you know, how do you justify making $1.5 million? And he said, because before I came here, y'all weren't even bringing in $300,000 a year. He said, I'm the generator for this school. And PWIs, like Apostle said before, man, we were talking about this earlier. There was a time where there was what was it, Vanderbilt versus UGA, drew 16,000. The same weekend, the TSU was playing somebody. TSU was playing somebody, and that brought in more people than the SEC game. So it's just about those numbers, man, and they know it. I mean, that's how they grew from the six. Like Ole Miss, all these were good old boy schools that had good old boys that weren't doing nothing. And then you start driving and funneling these black boys in here to play their game and filling up the stadiums. Then now everybody wants to go to that school because it's recognized. I want to go to UGA because I see UGA. I see the brand. I want to go. And now, you know, that's what happened. And that's what Calhoun was saying. He said, I made this a reputable institution, period.
Right. So if you build the brand of the school, whether it be basketball, whatever it is, and then you got to get administration to understand when those monies come in from donations and stuff, put it towards athletics.
Yeah. You
got to funnel it into what's going to get the people's attention. Put it towards athletics. We want more players. Well, you got to, what is it like? It's like having a car. I can't just have the paint shiny and the brakes bad. No, I got to make sure the whole car is functional, because if one of them go out, you're going to die. If the headlights don't work at nighttime, somebody's going to run into you. If the brakes don't work, you can't stop. If your gear shift to go out, you stuck in neutral and you need to get the part or what drive. You got to make sure the car has a destination or the college has a goal. And if you're trying to build, we need to take from the model of the PWIs and admit it works. Funnel that money to it and let's build it. Let's build the facility of this basketball. Let's build the facility of this football. And let's take a 5-year plan and say in 5 years, if we ain't hit our goal, we'll shift it to something else. But we need to concentrate on building. And so when those kids come, now I don't know why that number 2 player left Howard. Who knows why?
Probably the same reason the kid left from and Master P kid left.
Facilities.
But I don't know why. I don't want to say that.
Well, I'm not sure what.
Yeah, I think it was one of those one and done type things. But I haven't even heard him about the NBA, so I don't know if he got hurt or what happened to him.
Yeah, because even with Master P's son, with the trainer and everything, I mean, that's something that you even have to have at the high school level. Some of the best programs. I mean, that trainer is so pivotal. I mean, he is so important. That's one cog that cannot miss from your program. Yeah. You got to have that trainer.
And TSU has decent facilities. They actually have really nice facilities.
They really do.
So I'm like, I don't know how that happened.
They really
so like, I mean, I don't know what happened with that. And still, I don't even understand that with Master P to one extent or another, though. Master P. If you needed your son to go to the doctor or whatever, such, and they say, what's going on?
Well, the truth they say, honestly, they say that he wasn't even really getting no playtime either, though.
But see, because he can't play.
That's what I'm going to say.
And that's
he can't play. He can't play. That's why you at that school.
You use that excuse to downplay us when you want
I'm just being real. Yeah. I'm just being real because the thing is, his son got a NIL deal for, I think it was an app or something. Almost $2 million.
Yeah.
Bruh, what we worrying about basketball for now? When you really are not that ain't you.
Yeah.
I mean, you good enough to make it to this college, but if you were all of that, you would have never been at that school in the first place. More than likely, more than likely, he would have never been at that school. Yeah, he went to he did what he was doing with us, but more than likely, he would have never. It's just the same with some of these others, actors and athletes or whatever stuff. They have children that are playing. Rich individuals and well-off individuals that have children playing, they're not going to those schools if they can get them to the right trainers and everything. I don't know what happened with all of that. If I had Master P money, look, and with the 3 sons that I got, bro, what?
James,
I'm talking like Ball, my man Ball, Lonzo Ball, and all of them. I mean, everybody is in because you gonna be super. Because if this is what you want to do, I got all the resources to invest in you to get you there. I mean, I can get you to the best trainers and everything. I mean, like I said, I'm in the middle of this right now. I've my neighbor, his son was even training with Jeff Teague's trainer. Jeff Teague's trainer, the one that when Jeff used to play for the Hawks or whatever. Okay, his basketball or his ball handling coach, my neighbor, he would take his son to that man. But it took us driving from Millersville, Georgia, 2 hours, almost to Atlanta, to the subdivision where they had a gym inside of his house, and that's where they were training at. Abdul Ruff Jackson, he was a shooting coach. You got to have that type of resources and everything. And when you got that type of money and everything, you can get your child to these different type of trainers. Those trainers ain't cheap either because hourly it costs. But the results.
You talking about Abdul Rauf?
Yeah.
I used to play for
LSU.
Yeah. I think that's Mahmoud Abdul Rauf.
He changed the name. Boy, last name used to be Jackson. Mama called him.
I'm gonna call him Jackson.
I'm gonna call him Clay.
Chris Jackson. His mama didn't call him Chris. The boy changed the name Abdul Ruff. But anyway, what I'm saying is you got to be able to. I just didn't understand the whole thing with that though. With him saying, "I'm moving my kid because they're training." You got funding. I mean, you have resources. What are you talking about?
It was an excuse. It was an excuse.
It was an excuse. It's some don't sound like
that. No playtime.
James, let me ask you this question. We know you have 3 boys who are athletes. Will you encourage them to take the transfer portal if they're not playing their first year or freshman year into whatever school they've chosen? Will you encourage them to take the transfer portal?
That depends. I've always taught my boys this here. Basically, I mean, you got to look at all pieces of that. if you're not playing because that guy's better than you, what are you doing to get better? Now, don't just because when you get to another school, there's going to be somebody else waiting on you. You may be able to walk into a starting position. You look at the kid that left from Oklahoma, Rattler. Just left from Oklahoma. People saying, why did he leave? Well, look at what he did last year. His first year in, he was the bomb. That second year, somebody else was playing. He was playing a few games, whatever, such. He was getting ready to lose his spot. So he goes, plays for the Gamecocks.
And they leaves out. Bad.
What's it?
They need a quarterback bad.
We need a quarterback. But he knows when I get to the Gamecocks, I'm going to start. Yeah. So he's moving there to stay in that limelight. He's another one, though. He is making that NIL deal he has. You know, they're saying that I think Young is going to be the first millionaire in football. The basketball players are doing it bigger. The basketball players are doing it a whole lot bigger than the football players are doing it right now. I think Young from Alabama is going to be the first millionaire while in college through the endorsement deals. But the Rattler kid, he left. He has a deal where he is his own brand, his own clothing line, I think it is. So he is doing his thing. But for me, for my kids, like I see why he left. But back to that question, I'm not going to pursue that right away. I want to make sure that they are leaving if they have to leave for the right reasons. If you're in a situation where you are better than that other kid and they got you in this program where they're saying, well, we just want you to stay here and we got our system and this is what you got to do and you got to wait on this person and all of that, I'm not inclined to, to go that route with that. I would be at that point saying, look, I always believe the best player should get on the field. Mm-hmm. If he is sitting and he is the best player, he should not be sitting because we don't have, but so many years to use here. And if he redshirted that year, okay, then I still got my other years. But if he's sitting and he's playing, a little bit here and there, and they're counting that year and he's losing that year of eligibility, then that's another thing to look at. So it's so many different pieces that goes into that when you're saying, will you take that transfer portal? But I like the option though, because you're not locked in. You're not, if you get in there, because a lot of times what people don't understand this either, because I talked to some of these guys, kids are using that transfer portal not because of they're not getting playing time, it's because they were lied to when they were recruited.
Exactly. And I think that's crazy how those coaches do that and try to make it like the kids aren't caring about the education. Man, you lied to me.
You lied to that guy. You told him one thing, he was going to be doing this, he was going to be doing that, he was going to start, he was going to, you were going to work this out for him, he was going to, the classes, you were going to be this way, and this is how everything was going to be lined up, this is how your day was going to go, and all of this, because they give you all of that, and basically they tell you how a day is going to be when you get there, and then when you get there, all of this stuff starts changing. And I've talked to guys, I've talked to recruits, and I mean, it's some of them say, you find out that the school is really not about football. They're really not about the players or whatever. They're just about making the money or whatever. So they're using the kids. So you just got to have those conversations with some of these players, and that's why they're leaving sometimes. Because, like I said, things that were a picture that was painted, and it's not what it is. So they're not just leaving because a lot of people they leaving because he can't get the spot. He think he this and that. He don't want to deal with a challenge. He doesn't want to fight for his spot. Coach is leaving too.
That's a lazy narrative placed by white oppressive coaches and who lose their control. It's the same thing they do to LeBron.
Exactly.
When LeBron decided, hey, y'all ain't gonna keep telling me how long I can do these contracts. I'm gonna give you a year or two, and I'm gonna go to the highest bidder. They do not like that African Americans have taken control in sports, and you have to teach your child in high school that you're a business. The same way they want to use your name and likeness on. I will never forget. I went to a Clemson game, UJ versus Clemson. Ty Gurley had scored a touchdown. He went on the sidelines. They just showed him on the Jumbotron. He waved his hand, and 90,000 people went crazy. That's the type of control your child has, and they want to make sure that he knows that that's not really you, it's us, and that's not fair. No, I have that kind of control, and you just mad because you lied, and now I can do the same thing you can do. It's no way a coach, for the life of me, I never understood how a coach could leave a team, go to another team, start recruiting, coaching, getting paid, but a player got to sit out a year. Make that make sense to me. And now y'all want to act like these players are, oh, they selfish. They only care about themselves. No, y'all been selfish. Y'all been doing it. Like that's why I was so mad when people tried to make that comment about the recruit, the number one recruit. No. The comment was actually even more egregious because this man is saying that these players get to dictate what they should have been dictated. Lane, you done been to 5 different colleges.
Thank you. And left Tennessee hang all in the bag, and you just drop them, and then you reap what you sow because the word came to fruition. Yeah. You got fired on the plane, outside the plane in USC.
Thank you.
Yeah. But see, the thing is, even with Hunter, now this is one thing I thought about. I said, now, what if he had taken all those other hats and thrown them out, and he had picked up the Georgia hat and put it on?
Oh, they'd be fine.
Oh, nobody would say that. Because he just disrespected Florida State. He just did this any kind of way. And I said, what if he had just picked up the Georgia hat and thrown all the hats and put that Georgia? What would have been said? Nothing against Georgia. I'm just saying, because most of the people that I've seen on Twitter, Instagram, and everything else that are upset in these situations is not people of our skin color.
Nope.
When you look up the quote or the tweet or whoever sent it, it's not us talking that.
Because they feel like they control it.
It's about control.
Because like you said, it's a control thing.
Yeah.
Now he can tell you, no, I'm not doing this, and I'm not going to stay here, and I'm not going to deal with this. Just as well the coach has been doing, like I said, for years, and people have been making these decisions for years, and they can just go from one place to the next. I mean, and the money that these guys are making is ridiculous. I mean, I looked it up. I'm doing the research on this. I mean, you're talking about Nick Saban making almost $10 million a year. That's crazy.
Now, that's another conversation we need to have. Why we don't teach our black boys and even young ladies about how to get into culture. Like, we really don't talk about that. And I have a friend that's just another that we definitely need to talk about, because we don't even think about coaching. These coaches are making millions, $100 million now.
Millions of dollars.
That's not endorsement deals. That's just a coaching salary.
But see, the one thing that I found out about, and I've been doing it as we've been doing on this recruiting trail, a lot of the coaching jobs, as well as like I said, the coaching and the referees, it's a family thing. It's a generational thing. Yeah. It goes from one family to the next. You talk to most of those coaches that are out there. The father was a coach. The granddaddy was a coach.
Yeah.
All of that comes down through it. And the referees that on the top echelon, it's 2 families that run the referees, basically. And both of those are white families. Those are Caucasian families. And you cannot get into those there's only certain people that can get in on that level of refereeing. You got to have a connection with these people to get in on this stuff. She falling out. But it is what it is. It's a system that's out there. Like my man Burrell he mentioned. It's something we haven't looked at, but they know all this money's been made all of these years. These people are making a killing. Their livelihood and their families, their generational wealth is built on this.
Built on that.
And we haven't even looked at it. Well, you need to be out there playing.
Yeah.
I love what Jackson said one time. He said he says his son wanted to play basketball. And he plays basketball right now in college. But not Jesse Jackson. The Jackson in Atlanta. Okay.
He's tired.
Yeah. But his son is playing, but he told his son this. His son says, Daddy, I want to play in the NFL or the NBA. He says, son, if you own the team, you can play all you want to play. I said, either own the team. You get on the floor when you get ready to get on the floor. You play how long you want to play. He says, look at it a different way, though. Don't just look at playing and being used by others. Be in a situation where you're on the other side of the counter. And that's the problem with what's happening right now. They want us to stay on that side of the counter where we're always consuming.
Yep.
Not selling.
Yep.
So that's a whole nother subject, we could be talking about. But they want us to always be the people that are purchasing, not the people that are making the sales. Because the research I did on what these schools, the profit that they make off of football every year, Ooh.
I mean, could you imagine?
You're talking millions and millions of dollars. That's crazy money. But when you can run a company and your profit is $75 to $100 million at the end of the year after you done paid everybody else,
and you get free labor,
and
free labor,
and
and then they get on there telling us, well, you got a degree. Man, that's not true, because if you cut him and the kid gets on injured reserve, you cut his scholarship.
Yeah, because and then those scholarships have to be renewed every year anyway.
I couldn't believe Dabo Swinney had the nerve to say, "What about the education, Dabo? You want to talk about how many players you done cut that's had to transfer from your school, or that is not starting no more, having to stay on walk-in, but you care about? Come on, y'all. Look, we can stay all day on that. So yeah, I agree.
Like I said, Dabo better be careful what he's saying anyway, because some people about to bring some stuff out the bag on him from what I heard through the grapevine. So you better be careful how he's stepping when he's saying all this stuff.
It looks like his reign may be over anyway, though, because all the people that he needed are gone.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Oh, okay. So where we at right now, Brother Tom?
All right, we at the end. We're at the end. We don't talk about.
We lost a few.
On him. Yeah. We don't talk an hour and a half. We got to get off this here show. It has been real. Listen. This is great, and I love what everyone brings to the table. The dialogue. Look like Bishop Robert Williams. He's still trying to get back in. He having a problem with his lights and power and stuff, but it's all right. It's just great knowledge, and this is what it's going to take. It's going to take this type of dialogue, and I like what Burrell said to me actually earlier. People got to do their research to not make sure we don't push the wrong narrative, to make sure we understand that certain statements are actually being said. And if you really understand the statement and look into the statement, you really see there's actually another message there that's actually being said by that person. And what we have to do is dissect it, as my favorite guy Roland Martin say. You got to unpack it. You got to pull back the layers. You got to dive in, and then we can get to the crux of this thing. But tonight was great. I love the information, talking about being competent in our approach to sports as schools, making sure we attack the right thing, being knowledgeable, as you said, James, of the recruiting, understanding that this thing can shift, but it's not going to be overnight. It will happen, but we got to make sure we focus the right areas, and we got to educate these boys and use. We got to tell our young men, and it's funny that you said this, James. We got to tell our young men, use social media to your advantage. Use the resources and the things that's in front of you to your advantage, so you can be the best and get the most out of this thing, because there's a lot that's out there for you guys. You just got to know how to press the right button. You don't press the right button, you won't get the right response. But if you press the right button, you can use this thing. And I encourage everyone to be successful at what they do. All the kids, those who are listening, hit that share button, like Across the Line Sports Show. We're going to keep this thing rolling. We're going to keep it buzzing. Any last words from you guys?
Yeah.
James, go ahead.
Well, just the same thing you were hitting. Our kids, how to market themselves. We need to, before I leave, I just want to leave it with this: graphics classes and all type of things like that. Get into that. The children need to get into those different fields, learn how to put their own films together and all these different type of things together, their posters, everything else. That's how you're going to market yourself, because there's a lot of players out there right now who are connected with the right people. And actually, like we're saying, they 5 stars. Actually, that kid is nothing but a 2-star. But because of the marketing, it's put him in the right place. They're eventually going to get exposed. But by that time, they're there where they want to be at in a lot of cases.
All right, Burrell, what's your last word, sir?
Hey, I loved it. It was a great first time. Let's focus on how we're going to build this power conglomerate and change the narrative. I'm excited about it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Everyone, thank you for your time. Be blessed. Love you guys. See you on the first Monday of the month. And I may do a special show. I'm leaning towards it. It may be a special show. I'll give you guys a little update. We're trying to put something together. A college football pastors edition. Here with these pastors who support these various colleges or whatever, whoever they support. I'm pulling for Georgia. I want Georgia to absolute bust everybody in the head, so I can get this monkey off my back of these folks telling me we ain't had a championship in 40 years. Yes, I know. I was 2 when we won the last one, and James was 12. Now he ain't that old, but James was somewhere about 6 when he won the last one. Burrell, you weren't here yet, I don't think.
I wasn't here yet.
All right. So we trying to get that thing, guys. Be blessed. Love you all. Peace. Have a good one, and we are out.
30 seconds.